Would you have taken a chance on Josh Gordon at this point?
No, I would not have. I wish him the best. I want him back in the NFL. I think eventually you make that call. But what really, really resonates with me is that he had checked himself into the rehab clinic or rehab facility in a few months ago, right before his banishment was supposed to be lifted and he was going to be allowed to return to the team. Let's take into consideration the fact that Max, coach, this dude has been suspended multiple times. Let's take into account the fact that despite those multiple violations, Commissioner Roger Goodell, not really known for modifying his approach to issues of discipline on too many occasions, decided to do so in Josh Gordon's particular situation when he said, okay, you're due to come back to the team in a few weeks, but in the meantime, we're going to allow you to be around the team. You can practice with the team. You can use their facilities, et cetera, because you know how folks usually make the argument that, again, when you isolate these individuals and leave them to their own devices, you're asking for them to get into trouble. Why don't you help them out by surrounding them with the right support base in order for them to get things right and ultimately get back on the playing field? Roger Goodell thought about that and allowed it to happen. And still, right before he was supposed to go out on the field, he had to check himself into a facility yet again because he knew that he was violating, the league's drug policy. So what does this say? What it says is, in all likelihood, he's an addict. And if he's an addict, it says that he needs help far more than he needs to be on the football field. And if that is the case, why bring him back now? Why not make sure that you hold him accountable to some degree? If you're going to let him come back when training camp starts. But for now, you're on your own because you are a man, and we need to see that you can be a man before you're going to be a professional football player, because this is a man's league. It's not a league for boys. I don't have a problem with their decision.
I'd take a chance on Josh Brown because the fact that Josh Gordon, excuse me.
Josh Gordon.
Primarily because the fact of the matter is most fans care more about the player and the product on the field than the human being. And that goes for most teams, too, by the way. Most general managers will take who they can get away with. You have to give up almost no resources to get him, right? He doesn't cost a lot in terms of treasure or draft picks or anything like that. You can't rely on him. Obviously, you can't rely on him. You can't plan a season thinking, oh, we have this weapon. And by the way, his physical prime, is going. Who knows what he's going to be when he's on the field.
We said 2014.
But I will say this.
Last time he played.
Right. I will say this. As a rookie, as a young player, other than Odell Beckham Jr. in the last 10 years, no one hit the league like that at that position. He is a transcendent, next-level talent. And even if he's 75% of what he was at his best, if it doesn't cost you much to get him and you don't have to rely on him, why wouldn't you take a shot on him? Obviously, it seems he has a drug problem. I mean, that much is clear. But from a competitive point of view, if he could somehow get it cleared up, sure, I'd want him on my roster.
You've had to deal with this, Coach.
Yeah, and this is tough. And Max makes a great point, along with Stephen A., in the fact that you're looking at his first 2 years, 2,400 yards, 14 touchdowns. You're hoping you get that guy. But the problem is, as both of these gentlemen have stated, you can't trust him. When he leaves the facility, you don't know the next day as a coach if he's coming back or not. That's the problem when you deal with a guy like this. There's got to be some accountability, and it works both ways. Now, some team will reach out to him because of his talent, because it's really low risk. And you have to go into it this way thinking, you know what? He might play 8 games, he might play 4 games, might not be here. But if he is here, we hit a home run. But there lies the problem. You can't count on this guy being your number 1 receiver, your number 2 receiver. The one thing I do know about this young man, he's not a leader. He doesn't take guys with him. You're nervous about guys like that because all of a sudden they have the influence on some more young guys. He's not that type of guy. Really good kid, all the things I hear about him, talking to coaches that have coached him before, but he's got a problem. And until he solves that problem, you can't count on him.
What would you do?
Well,
go ahead. Stephen A.?
We have to stay on the subject in this regard. This is not a decision that was made by the Browns. This is a decision that was made by the NFL. So why would the NFL feel the need to, even though he had to go through them to get reinstated, let's ask the question, why would the NFL step forward and prohibit other teams for taking a chance at having that opportunity to have him on their squad, whether it's the Browns trading him to one of them or whatever the case may be. Why would the NFL get in the way of all of that and say, before any of that is allowed to transpire, we don't want you as a part of our league
he's got a drug,
yet?
because
that is a
Stephen
very
A,
profound statement.
You're right. He's got a drug
that they
problem,
make.
and all three of us agree you can't rely on him, but he's not a quarterback. You know, if we're talking about a quarterback or someone who needs to be in a leadership position, that this is a guy who's just could be, we don't even know if he still is, but could be, as you said, a home run offensively when he's available.
He's Randy Gregory. Okay? Randy Gregory hadn't played yet. Dallas took a chance.